Well, with factions within the PDP jostling for the soul of the party, fear continues to mount over the likelihood that more chieftains of the party may defect to other parties. What fate awaits the one-time Africa's biggest political party? How can the umbrella party reinvent itself from its unending leadership crisis? Unending indeed. Well, Dr. Amadi, director of Abuja School of Social and Political Thought, joins us to look at these issues. Dr. Sam, I am particularly confused. Can you help me with the confusion?
I'm sure even the actors are confused themselves. But look, this is perhaps the most complicated and some would say wicked crisis we've gone through at least since 1999 in terms of party formation and crisis of political party. We know that parties are in crisis, whether it's APC, you can see some
LP.
some crisis going on, NLP, LP, NNPP, LP, and even the smaller parties. So party crisis, as long as you don't have stability in rules, stability in even psychology of leaders over party. And, you know, part of Nigeria's underdevelopment in democracy is that rules are underdeveloped and compliance with systems and processes and expectation. So politics, they say, is war by other means, but in countries like Nigeria, in what the scholars call dangerous places, politics becomes even more than war because outcomes are uncertain, winner takes all, rules are not well managed. So the PDP crisis starts from the simple fact that rules may be vague. So the National Church Secretary goes to run for office. Some people read that the law requires him to have resigned. He reads it to mean that the law doesn't mandate him resign. It's voluntary. And since he didn't win, he's not in public office, he could head a position. So that has been the issue. Now, the whole Southeast caucus, look at the guys there. These are heavyweights in the party. On one side, the secretary, maybe the acting national chairman himself, Governor Wike, Minister Wike, who is a very strong and powerful member of the party, and with other party leaders on the other side. What makes this crisis almost intractable and unsolvable at this moment is that it coincides with the politics of 2027. And so, both covertly and directly, the fact of some part of PDP leadership expressly endorsing President Tinubu makes this crisis even worse because it looks like the stakes are very high here. If, for example, you know, the caucus wins and gets someone off, for example, it means that the proceedings towards the convention becomes tilts towards those who are not aligned with Wike and the desirable outcome that he wants. If Samuel holds on and his group hold on, it colors the outcome we expect post-convention and run up to 7. So you can even see that the Saraki, who probably was a neutral person driving some constellation, is himself looked like conflicted as well. So
I was going to come to that.
So it looks like essentially that this crisis is much more deepened by the fact that everything leads to Tinubu in case of with the party support. Some members of that party think that in 2027 they have to cut a deal with Tinubu, okay? Support Tinubu. Then after 2027 rebuild their party. Some people in the party feel that this party can still be competitive and we need to retrieve it and use it for whatever purpose, whether it's Makinde is going to run. So this is really a crisis layered, multi-layered.
Multi-layered. Now you brought up the question of competitiveness. There are many things to break down here. Is it just possible that PDP can reinvent itself from this seemingly intractable, unending crisis, married up with the fact that former Senate President Saraki, who is chairman of the Reconciliation Committee, who is supposed to be reconciling all sides, is the one saying that some 2 governors, National Assembly members, may defect to other parties. How do you see that statement? Should he be making such statement when he's supposed to be reconciling people?
Maybe he has tried, I mean, he took that job with seriousness, went around, met governors, this, governor, met almost all the major actors. Probably he's seen that, you know, to solve a crime, what they teach us in policy school around reconciliation and arbitration is that you expand the pie, okay? Win-win. Maybe he's seen that there's no prospect of win-win. It's win-lose, and it looks difficult. So he has perhaps given up somehow of settlement. But again, he's also being realistic that two governors may think around the governor of Bayelsa, stories flying up and down, okay? About half of the PDP members in the House and APC members are calling upon him, some of them, to decamp to APC. Now, the uncertainty around how INEC and the courts will interpret what's going on when it results into nominations is also a threat. So some governors, just like Governor Pastor Eno said, which may be dismissed, but it's real, he said, look, I don't want my mandate to become subject, I know I can win, but if I win, this could be subject to nullification because of this, you know, uncertainty around leadership. So I think that Saraki is not just, you know, it's not conflicted. He's right to say, I see this prospect. And when they leave, they're going to carry. But there's something live out here, whether PDP can reinvent itself. In 2015, they had the opportunity. I remember having a conversation with Sameto and others. I said, look, when they lost that election was a time to reset the party before primaries. The problem with PDP is that the activity starts when there's primary. And primary politics is itself inherently conflictual because all the major actors who own the party have either they are running or they are proxy for someone to run. So you start repeating the party when you lose the election, when there's no prospect of primary politics. They fail to do that. Now, can they reinvent themselves before 27? Don't forget that depending on what happens on Wednesday, where we will probably hear more about the coalition, if PDP ever enters the third, and they almost got to third position in last election, if they enter third position, they are gone. Because whoever comes first and second becomes the major political party. And so the way it's shaping up, whether the coalition successfully outs President Tinubu or not, they are primed to be number one or number two. So it looks like PDP, unfortunately, is going to get into the dustbin of history as a former great party. Except something is done because they need to win the 2027 election or at least be the runner-up. If they don't, then I don't see hope for reversion post-2027.
All right. What does Anyanwu mean by the NEC meeting will be open to invitation? Again, that's confusing. Mm-hmm. And when you watch the Enugu caucus,
the governor,
what we saw there was basically top
layer
southeast members. And their own NEC is different from Anyawu's NEC.
Okay, I think the way I understand is that there's a NEC proposed at the last meeting by everybody, including Governor Minister Wike, who was there in that meeting. So what has happened is, since that proposition, there's been a lot of confusion and conflict. So what Anyanwu was saying that his group, whatever, is not to supersede that NEC meeting. They have proposed a caucus meeting, which is a special meeting. And so what I say that they don't want that NEC, because don't forget that when the notice for NEC was given to INEC, the protest was that it wasn't signed by Anyanwu as National Secretary, and it was signed by somebody as acting. Now, they don't want that NEC to happen. That's the Anyanwu group does not want the NEC to happen. And so in place of that NEC, they're proposing something, because 30th has been earmarked as a 100th NEC. So this is politics. They have to counter it with their own special, what is called now special, maybe caucus meeting by invitation. Meaning that, look, this is not going to be a general, it's not a NEC platform. Now, the other group insists on the originally ordained. So if you ask me my independent view, there is a NEC that was proposed. Whether it's no longer valid is a different matter. There's now a counter meeting, which is not NEC, because by definition, they didn't call it NEC. They said a special meeting, strictly by invitation. What they're trying to do is to displace. So tomorrow, on the 30th in the evening, news will break of NEC, and the news will break of this other meeting. So it's a way of countering not just the event itself, but countering the narrative out there. So what we're seeing is a continuous warfare.
We just have about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So what will INEC do in this situation?
Well, what INEC should do is very simple. INEC should not be transactional. They have a principle. They understand whether this NEC, if INEC has attended any of them, INEC doesn't need to attend any of them because they are not convention-like.
Oh, okay.
But if INEC has to attend, they have to make a decision, which is real one. The problem with INEC for me is that too much waiting. If I was INEC chairman, bingo, they won. I look at the rules, apply them, and knock down. I said, this is the right, guys, you are wrong. And I've argued that INEC should force the parties to have rules about transition. Yes, the party should decide, but the party must decide in line with INEC rules. And INEC is both a regulator of parties and election. It's not doing enough on the side of party regulation.
I'm sure that the people who are watching you, they're in a quandary concerning what is happening with PDP, the once
self-inflicted quandary.
Largest party. All right, Dr. Sam Amadi, the director of Abuja School of Social and Political Thought, joining us on Arise News to discuss issues in the PDP. Thank you so much.